You men are tormented, frustrated, sad, dismayed in your relationships to women, whether you're married or unmarried. You are doing everything all wrong, and you don't understand what the wrongness is. You say to yourself, I would like to find a nice woman. Now already you've set yourself up for a tragedy in a relationship with any woman, because you've already defined in your own mind what is nice. And ladies, what is nice in his mind is for you to behave exactly the way he wants you to behave. Financially, socially, dress-wise, shopping-wise, the way you talk, sex-wise. He has set up in his mind the ideal kind of woman. You think you're going to qualify? You never have you? So a man sets up in his mind the kind of woman, listen to this, the kind of woman that will make him happy. He's miserable. The little wretch is miserable with himself. And he says, when I find the right one, she is going to make me happy. Oh, they're going to fight. And all the smiles are going to turn to surliness, aren't they, after a while? In brief, what a man finds when he goes out looking for a woman is his own self. Well, look. Oh, I see. I was a little too high for you. A little too advanced. You don't know yet. You don't see clearly yet that you always run into your own mind, feelings, wants, experiences, childishnesses. How can you ever find anything outside of yourself? You can't. You never will. So you go out and you meet a woman, and she looks something like you'd like her to look. She looks okay to you. And all you ladies will testify as to the truth of what I'm going to say next. Because that woman cannot possibly please you, because you can never please yourself, and you never have, sooner or later, and it's usually sooner, the little tiny pressures, the little tiny threats, the little tiny demands that you lady, behave the way I want you to behave. Again, in every area, financially, sexually, you women have had pressure on you regarding sex, haven't you? You have to behave a certain way. You didn't like that, did you? Well, what do you expect when you get involved with a little kid grown up? You see? What do you expect? Well, you're doing the same thing he is, just as immature. Now, listen, gentlemen, there's no point whatever in you continuing to pursue the path, what you call a romantic path, to find a woman, continuing the path that you've always followed. In your heart, you know what I'm telling you is true, because it's happened over and over and over again, and you kind of sense that nothing different has happened inside of you or anywhere else. No change of thinking, of feeling, of understanding. That has not taken place, so how do you expect anything to take place in a relationship? You expected the relationship to take off some of the pressure, huh? And when it didn't, because the woman's just under just as much pressure as you are, and she has her demands on you, then you begin the horror story all over again, which you've had many times before. You've had the horror story of sensing, here I go again. I am telling you, and if you don't listen to me, you'll just have to repeat in the future your past. Repeat your past in the future. I am telling you, there is no point in you having any faith, any hope in finding happiness with a woman as long as you are miserable with yourself. Now look, if you were to set yourself free, which is the right priority, if you were to forget trying to find a woman, what you call a good woman, if you were to forget that and go into the spiritual path, sooner or later you would understand how to be in relationship with a woman. Because you have a right relationship with yourself. And what an utter liberty it is to you. You men, you don't understand at all the beauty and the natural, effortless power that you will have with both men and women, because you understand both sexes, when you first set yourself free of your false desires, your false claims, your false pressures. You have no idea of the liberty that you will experience with everything on earth. You see, a woman is just one small part of this whole existence, isn't she? There's your own life, your physical life. There's the way you earn a living. There's your relationships with other people. There's your health. There's many, many things. And a woman is just one part of it. Why do you think you can isolate a woman and say, I can have that right when the other is wrong? When your mind is raging. What you really want, gentlemen, you don't want the woman at all. I'm telling you, you don't. What you want is a piece of sugar, a spoonful of sugar, hoping that the little sugar, that little sugar woman out there, just like in your coffee, to make it sweet for a little bit. And when the coffee's gone, you have to start all over again. That bitter drink, gentlemen, is in you. That's where the sweetening process has to begin, not in her. She doesn't know, she's just as mixed up as you are. You see, you're very gullible and very foolish. You somehow assign certain virtues to a woman, which means that you're afraid of her, by the way. Which means, listen, remember the talk earlier? Which means you have made her sacred. And you look at movies and you see pictures of a beautiful woman and you say, if I could just have that, you wouldn't know what to do with her if you had her. I am telling you. You would wreck the relationship in the first 5 minutes because you're a mental ox. And she sees your ox-like pace toward her. What does an ox do? He clumbers or something. She sees the big ox coming, and she says, and when she sighs, gentlemen, that isn't a sigh of delight and romance towards seeing you coming. It's a sigh of, is this the best the world has to offer? Right, ladies? Right. You've done it. I know it. I know you, ladies. The only way, gentlemen, to have a right relationship with a woman is to not care whether you have her or not. Slow down now. There's no other way. The only way you can have something of value for her, which means that you first have something valuable in you, which makes you right and which makes you content, is to first set yourself free. And when you have set yourself free, by a very automatic, spontaneous, natural process, when you meet a woman, you set her free. She will sense it. She will know it. And she'll say, what's this? This is the first man in my whole life I have ever met who didn't come along with a club in one hand and chains in the other. What's this? Man, I like that man. He doesn't have to have me. Do you understand that? A man who has to have a woman, you women have nothing to do with him. Unless you want to raise him. Because you are free inwardly of all your false needs for her. You walk into her presence and you won't have to say a word. Gentlemen, you just have to be who you really are. Now let's see what happens to the woman when you are that way and you meet her. She immediately becomes enormously attracted to you. She immediately loses her fear that she's going to get hurt again. You've all been hurt, haven't you? What else? You've never had anything but a hurt experience with an ox. She understands your, I'll use the word, which isn't quite right, but you'll get it better if I use the word. Gentlemen, she sees your disdain for her company. And again, she says, this is the first time in my life I've ever met anything like that. All I've met before is little demanders. Men who came to me, up to me, and I could see by their faces and by their eyes, they didn't know what they're doing. All I could see was lust. They want to get me in the bedroom. Of course. That's where they eventually want to get me, and the sooner the better. Or they want someone to talk to and tell their troubles to because they're so lonely. Now, we'll shift to you ladies. I want you to know. I want you to know that you have to do the same thing the man does. You should not settle for a man when reality, truth must come first. If you put truth 10th, you're going to meet a man who puts it 10th. If you put it 9th, you'll meet a man who puts it 9th. 8th, on up, because your level is rising. And let me tell you what a level is. A level is recognition. Instant recognition. And that recognition is, first of all, a state of insight, of real cosmic wisdom in you. That wisdom is here, and then you look out at the whole world, not just at a man or just a woman. And you look out and you know instantly how to behave. You know whether to walk away or walk forward. You know everything to do, and you always do it without a mistake. Because there's no such thing as truth making a mistake anywhere at all, and you're living in that. But back to liberty. A free man meeting anyone, but we're sticking now to a man meeting a woman. When you come up to any woman, gentlemen, your first rule is, and it's an effortless rule, you don't have to think about it, your first rule is to be true. And there's nothing, and you ought to thank heaven for it. There is nothing that woman can give you that would take you away from what comes first, which is truth. Gentlemen, what can a woman offer you that can drag you down? Where would you fall into simple, usual, habitual desire in order to please a woman, in order to have her company? You come to a class like this, or you read books and you hear these talks, and you think that you can handle a woman, you don't know how easily you're tempted. You don't know how easy you'd fall, listen, how easy you'd fall and forget truth if just the certain right woman came along, one you've had your eye on, one you've had your eye on in this room. You think I don't know that? What if she came along and approached you? What would you sell your spirit for? See, and when you do that, you have put, what, the 20th thing first instead of the first. Let's see, I give you 3 days or 3 weeks before you crash into each other and hate each other and wish you'd never met each other. You see, there is something higher, gentlemen and ladies. There's something much, much higher. I'll talk to you ladies now. I shift as I see the position clearer. Ladies, there's something higher in this world than being held by a man. It's not wrong to want to be held. There's something a lot higher than that. Well, my dear ladies, remember that man of 3 years ago, 10 years ago? He doesn't hold you anymore, does he? And you're kind of glad, aren't you? Dealing with a man or dealing with a woman, then, is not a separate, isolated task. And I started off by telling you, gentlemen, you're wasting your time continuing to think toward women the way you presently think, with all your desires and hopes. And oh, what a painful, frustrating, and terrible thing it is, gentlemen, and I know you, to sit back in a chair against the wall and see those women that you think are attractive, or walking down the street and you see an attractive woman and you wish you could have her, and you don't even know you wish you could have her. And if you have a sex thought, you feel ashamed of yourself, and you don't even know you have the sex thought, and you don't even know you felt ashamed of yourself. See, you don't know anything at all. Remember earlier we talked about detection? That was the first law. Detecting the thoughts that go through you so that you can follow up by not calling them your own. Nothing is more pathetic then than you men looking out at the world of all those luscious women, wishing you could have every one of them. See, you know what's happening? I present blasting truths to you, and because they're unacceptable to your mind, you don't jump any. You don't jump because you don't know that this description I'm giving you about yourself is in your mind. It's very difficult to talk to people. They don't have any intelligence at all, but you hope that a little will sink through here and there. So you'd like to have every woman in the world, wouldn't you? And if you did, you'd wreck every woman in the world again. So you can't isolate and say, from now on, I'm going to improve my relations with my wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend. I'm really going to use spiritual principles to make things right between us, or improve it in some way, or to meet a man or a woman with whom I can have a good relationship. There's no point doing that at all. And I'll repeat what I said before, and this is extremely important to back up the fact that you're on the right track and wrong track, and you might as well abandon it for the right track. All you're ever going to meet, gentlemen, when you meet a woman, is yourself. All you're going to meet are your own desires for her, hoping, you're so desperate that she won't do anything to hurt you, that she'll behave the way you want her to, that you hope that she's reasonable-minded. And then you're out for the first date or something, and she does something foolish or something greedy or something utterly callous, and your heart sinks a little bit. Take her home. You picked her up at 7 o'clock, and you see her behavior at 7:15, you drop her off at her home at 7:30. I said, gentlemen, take her back home. Be a gentleman. Go around, open the door if you want. Politely say good night and drive off into the night. You're such a stupid man. If you can begin to recognize a woman who wants nothing to do with even ordinary decency, if you recognize a woman who rejects all that is commonly good, even in normal good manners and good language, if she swears, gentlemen, turn the car around and drop her off and take her home and leave her home and go home yourself and take her phone number and rip it up and throw it in the trash. Do that 10 times, 1,000 times if necessary. Always stand up for what is right. And lo and behold, everything will begin to change. You will begin to change your nature. You will begin to understand, thank heaven, that you don't have to sell your soul for one night of sex. So you got the sex, I know that, you know that. You went out there and you put up with her and you got the sex. Poor, pathetic human beings. That's what you got, sex. And the next night, it starts all over again. And you're never satisfied. You're never happy. Okay. In order to change everything, to have a right relationship, where you are in command, don't you dare let that woman be in command. She's going to test you, and she hopes she fails. You can only do this when you're already on the way and you know the difference between right and wrong. You use tact, of course, what you call ordinary wisdom. My dear lady, you behave like that once more and I'm turning the car around and I'm going to take you home. You may be doing her the most beautiful favor anyone in the world has ever given her, because now she has her choice. If she continues to behave badly, and right in this room, new people, all the people who've used bad language, to the best of my knowledge, the majority of them have been you sweet ladies. No one here in this room, those who have left and they should have left. You talk like that anymore, lady, and I'm taking you home. For your own sake, what do you think we're talking about? To give you a jolt. So that you'd have this anxiety, am I going to make it with her tonight or not? You know what we're getting at? You understand? Let me use simple words if you don't. We're talking about non-compromise. We're talking about putting what is true and right within your own nature first, last, and always. Now you can understand that. You can understand the words anyway. We're talking about you, listen, I'll put it this way. We're talking about you being willing to take the risk of losing the woman. We're talking about you losing the possibility of having sex with her for the first time. That's very important to you, isn't it? You keep a scoreboard in your mind. You go ahead and be as embarrassed as you want. I want you to know I am deadly serious, and you had better be. I'm talking about you running the risk of losing everything that has been falsely valuable to you in your relationships with a woman, whether you're married or girlfriend or whatever. I'm talking about you losing all those dreadful habits and schemes and compromises. And if you learn to give up what is weird, what is wrong, what is false inside of you, I want you to know that there'll be no easier task in life for you than to ignore what you formerly were terribly attracted to in the form of a woman. I want you to know that you can see spirit first, understand spirit first, so that when you see that woman who looks attractive to you, who looks shapely to you, who looks nice to you, so that when you see her, you will not be robbed by your old nature anymore. That will take you away, so you go up like a little idiot and start flirting with her mechanically, or peering at her out of the corner of your eye for 2 or 3 hours, so that you won't do anything foolish at all. There is no wrong magnet in the woman that attracts you to her because you have got rid of the wrong magnet in yourself. So how can you be attracted to that woman when there's nothing in you but to be attracted to her? Now look where we are. We have a man. Oh, ladies, listen to this. Hang on to it. We have a man who is a real man, worthy of the label, conscious label this time, worthy of the label of being a man. Now, ladies, you can feel safe for the first time. Millions upon millions of married women and girlfriends, millions of them live in relationship with that man, scared. They know he can't handle life. They know what a bad temper he has, how irritable he is, how childish he is. They know that. And if they are with that man, it is their fault because they have chosen their own level in a man. Now, you gentlemen, let's say that you've gone all the way in this. Let me tell you what you'll be free of, among other things. And I've already described them, but I'll go over them a little bit more so you'll be clear in your mind. Gentlemen, you know that yearning you have for that woman? You know that? You pick her out, put her in mind. Okay, conscious imagination, that's all right. You know that woman that you'd like to have? Isn't that hell? Huh? You know it is hell. What you want a relationship with her, and you know you're not going to have it. And you better not have it. You just want to wreck your life and hers too. You'll be free of the torment of having desirous thoughts toward a woman. Let's see if you can really begin to grasp this. Gentlemen, I don't care how sexually attractive she is. You see her little figure out there and it looks good to you. How pleasant she appears to be, how desirable. I don't care about her at all. I am talking about you and the way you think toward her. And if you have an ounce of sense, you won't think about her at all. Oh, you didn't know? Oh, I see. You didn't know that there's a state of thinking, of understanding, of acting that is higher than you seeing that woman and wanting her? Oh, I see. That's it. You didn't know that you could be free of the pain and the agony of wanting her and sensing that you're never going to have her. Gentlemen, do you want to go through the rest of your life looking out at all those pretty little fluffy ladies out there and going into agony over it? I hope that you're good enough students to know that you go into agony, that you're not going to sleep with her. I hope you have sense enough to understand that that is inside of you, gnawing at you. Look where we are. You have all these wrong thoughts toward a woman, and that becomes your pastime. That becomes your pleasure, to run these thoughts through your mind of hopeful thoughts. Maybe someday you'll find her, and what a little nut you are. She's going to chase you. You're so adorable. Have you ever seen an adorable man in your life, lady? No. Have the courage then to risk the loss of every single way you now think, feel, desire, and act toward a woman. Even the physical activity is very important for you to watch. And if you watch yourself carefully, gentlemen, you'll see that when you approach a woman physically to try to get her, get acquainted with her or whatever, you will see that there's a great deal of fear of failure in it. Right? Nod your head. You've done it all the time. See, I know you. There's fear of failure. Now, let me tell you what's wrong. What's wrong is you having fear of failure in you. What's wrong is you having fear of any kind in you. This is no way to spend the rest of your life. What are we going to do to get you to this position where you start risking the loss of absolutely everything that is habitually wrong inside you? You can't just come to a talk like this and say, now I know how to handle a woman. I've heard all these things. I hope you understand that you have never in your life heard a more spiritual talk than you've heard today. It is 100% spiritual. We're talking about the light, the bright light up there that comes down and illuminates your financial life so you don't spend money foolishly. Illuminates your employment so you know how to get along with the people down at work. And it illuminates your life with a man or with a woman, including the sexual part of it. So that even the sex act itself is very easy, very normal. No pressures. No secret thoughts between the two of you. Just if, again, I illustrated it once by saying you just have a nice little dinner together. Quiet. No great wrong emotions involved. Playful even. Nice and normal. Well, now look. To have a normal sexual experience, you have to be normal. You search your own life experiences in sex and see how much tension there was, how much anxiety, how much on part of both of you, how much uncertainty. You didn't even know how to behave physically. Here's a room, here's a countryside. It has a home and it has a field and it has trees and it's midnight. The sun comes up and the sun goes high and the sun shines down on everything in that countryside. The home, the field, the flowers. Everything is illuminated and you can see it and understand it. And you can walk around and you can see the flowers and relate rightly to them. You can see the building. You know how to open a door and go inside and use the building. There are no problems at all in any area because you can see and understand. And this is what happens in a boy-girl relationship or a sex relationship. When you let the light come down, it'll guide you. And it's the only guidance you will ever find. Welcome it, and it'll come down and guide you. An added thought. In the sex act itself, women have a good deal of tension. and uncertainty toward the man and toward the act itself. And she has a desire to please a man sexually, but she's not sure of what that means. She doesn't understand him at all. She doesn't understand herself either. And sex to her is sort of a vague physical thing. She doesn't understand the psychology of it. And so she does indeed have anxiety. Even if she'd been married 30 years. A certain part of it becomes routine, but another part always has that anxiety because she has the anxiety in her wanting a man to like her and so on. Now, any man, again, a man who's a real man, who understands himself, therefore understands the woman, and has no need to get pleasure out of tormenting the woman, as most men do. You think not? You've been tormented by men. A man who understands himself will put the woman completely at ease in the sex act. By his manner, by what he says, by everything. And at first she might be very tense, very anxious because the big apes, that's what's down in her mind. She doesn't dare use that phrase, by the way. If you really love truth, you will love being right in everything you do, including the physical sex act itself. And that means you can't possibly have anything wrong in you that puts pressure or arouses tension in the woman. So that she is at ease and is so astonished to find a man who doesn't put pressure on her, who lets her be at ease in it. Gentlemen, you are teaching her higher truths right there in the bedroom. It goes everywhere. It must go everywhere. Truth can go everywhere in the world. Let me read one of these harmful voices. Let me ask you how you relate to it. One voice is like a sadistic prison guard who encourages a prisoner to speak his mind, then punishes him for doing so. Haven't you ever been lured into something by anyone, a group as a kid or something? Let's break into the cabbage patch and steal some cabbages or whatever. And you're the one who got caught. Remember? Remember? As we grow up, we begin to understand this particular type of weakness in ourselves, where other people lure us into traps and we're the one who get caught in it and they get out of it. And you know what you said, don't you? Well, you told me to do it. Well, Mama, Billy or Mary, they said I should do that. Oh, well, what good is that? Why don't you stay out of the cabbage patch in the first place by understanding that you must not break into it, understanding that all those other kids are just as dumb as you are. And if you grow intelligent, you will see their stupidity in breaking into the cabbage patch, so there's no way you can get caught and get hurt by it. You know very well, we've all had that experience where someone encouraged us to do something that was wrong, that was foolish, and we got caught or we got punished. Do you know that this still happens to you? Not physically so much, because you understand certain things in the physical world. But people can tempt you into thinking incorrectly towards yourself, for example. Let this be a very, very broad range. Let it have a broad range. So that nobody can tempt you into doing anything that is against yourself. Study the whole book. How do you girls like boys? How do you boys like girls? Oh, look what problems that causes. See, there's nothing wrong with boys and girls basically, you understand, except that they're both nutty. Right? Especially boys toward the girls and girls toward the boys. All right. What a beautiful, workable, practical, highly desirable principle is the one as follows. If I don't understand something, I don't have to go on to misunderstand it. Get that down somewhere, at least in your mind. If I don't understand something, I don't have to go from there to distort, to misunderstand. Now, if you misunderstand, don't understand, boy-girl contacts, relationships, romance, marriage, or whatever. If you don't understand it, what's the matter with that? What's the matter with you? You won't do it. You won't do it. What's the matter with you staying in a state of ignorance? You won't. You go on to distort everything. See, there's something in you that doesn't comprehend how to handle that woman, how to handle that man. You don't know what to do. So you do something. Look where we are already. You don't know what to do, but you do something. How stupid. No wonder you're in trouble all the time with each other. If you don't understand, gentlemen, how to, talk with a girl, meet her. And, you see, you're nervous wrecks, aren't you? Aren't you, with a girl? She looks at you and she flutters a little bit. And you're, flutter girl, come on. And you're gone. And you're afraid of her because there isn't a man in front of me here that really understands a woman. You poor pathetic males, all you know is what you want to get from her, right? You can think of several things you want to get from her, can't you? How pathetic for you and for her. All right. Now, you're both unknowing as to how to handle a man, handle a woman. Why don't you leave it with the unknowing? Why don't you just stay there and say, I don't know what to do. I really don't know how to behave. You'll only be able to do this toward a man, toward a woman, if you are a real student of these higher ideas. Because that principle I just gave you of staying with your ignorance and not acting from it is very profound. So your mad mind slows down a little bit, slows down a little more, till finally you never ever again in your life do anything with a man or with a woman. Because you see, you don't have to. Gentlemen, you're little schemers, aren't you? You're little plotters. Come on, smile if you want. I know it anyway. You want to get her in the bedroom. That's the first thing you want. You want to get her in the bedroom. Admit it. She suspects that too, but she doesn't understand any more than you do. When you're a mature human being, your mind does not rush out to seek something in a man or a woman at all. See, aren't you a seeker? You're looking for the right man, poor ladies. You men, you're looking for the right girl. You don't even know what you're talking about. All you're talking about is something that you think will gratify your romantic daydreams. You're watching too many movies on television. And you're reading too many books about romance. And you really believe that that's the way it is. You see, romances in the movies or in novels are all lies. They're all lies because they're based on what the authors, the movie producer, and so on know what you want to believe in. They know where you want to live. You know the classic plot, which I'm going to put in a new booklet, I think. Boy meets girl. Boy and girl have big fight and part, right? Boy and girl reconcile and live happy ever after. What happened to the third one, huh? All right. If you stay with your ignorance, that means you will begin to understand it. When you don't know what to do, but you do something anyway, you blurt out something to that woman or say yes to that man. When you don't know what to do, but you do something anyway, you've covered up the possibility you have of really understanding because you have activated the old ignorant nature whose nature is to act madly. And as long as you're living in beautiful romances, you are going to get hurt. How long does it take, girls and boys, how long does it take after the first meeting before the old dread starts in again? Here I go again. Now look, this is a Saturday in April. And I'm telling all of you, both you men and you women, I am telling you things that if you live out, you will never, ever again experience pain toward a man, toward a woman. Now, if after this talk on a Saturday in April, 1 year from now, 10 years from now, 30 years from now, if you ever again experience anything, disappointment, anxiety, hope that he'll come back, whatever, you have told yourself, and you've told the rest of the world, for that matter, that you don't want to escape misery, that you want to keep going just the way you are, and you will therefore, unfortunately, exploit from this day on every man and every woman you meet. That's called, that is called wasting your life. That is called preferring not to break out. That is called being a self-punishing, self-harming man or woman. Now, it's very interesting to take two elements, which we've done before in this room. Take two elements and put them together and see what happens. In this case, let's connect romance, boy-girl romance, with pain, with suffering. The two go together, don't they? Well, haven't you experienced a lot of pain? Let's run the list down a little bit. I know you men. You want a woman, matter of fact, you want all the women in the world, don't you? You're not satisfied with the one you want. Every woman in the world, I know that. As long as you're still living from ignorance of yourself, you will pass that ignorance on out toward every woman you meet, and you will experience pain. I will tell you, listen to what I've told you in past weeks and years about your preference for being a self-paining human being. If you see it, and you get to see how the familiarity of the agony of the heartache after the breakup, if you see that the familiarity of it goes over and over again, you might just yearn to find out for yourself whether or not there is an alternative, whether or not there is something different. You haven't yearned for it very much. Up to now, you haven't. How can I tell you? I can't with words, but I'm going to tell you with words what the facts of the situation are. If you ever again yearn, heartache, wanting to possess that man, that woman, if you ever do that once more, you have told yourself, you have condemned yourself to be a sleeping human being for the rest of your life. Now, I will tell you with words, unemotionally, just as factually as I'd talk about the construction of this building, I will tell you something that I personally know is a fact. You want to call it a spiritual fact, that's fine. That fact is that if you are a true female, a true male, everything you've ever thought about, planned about, schemed about, worried about toward the opposite sex, all of it will utterly, completely, and forever vanish. Why? Because you vanished. Look at all the dozens of points that come in at any particular point. While I'm talking to you, I am watching my own mind operate. I'm seeing ideas come in, a dozen at a time, and as they come in, there is a conscious selector there that comes in and takes that one to be the next sequential thought that comes in to follow the previous one. And here's the next one. To get rid of all heartache forevermore. See, you girls, you look around and you see one of these men in the group or men down at the office, and you go home and secretly think about him, and you wonder if he'll marry you or he'll be interested in you. Don't ever, ever do that again. You men the same. You look around this room, and I see you looking around this room. You're watching the girl, and I watch you watch the girl. What are you doing? What do you think this is all about? This is practical 100% in every area. We're here to be free of ourselves, and ourself is the agony, is the confusion. Do you see then how all male-female, boy-girl relationships must, if they're going to be right, must have a spiritual foundation? Look, forget the movies, forget the TV dramas, forget what Mom and Papa told you, because they lied to you. They never knew. They never knew what a real affection was toward anyone, to say nothing of the spouse. How do you suppose you're going to go about then erasing, canceling, tossing out, making of no avail anymore the ways you now presently think and act toward the opposite sex? If you think it's going to be easy, let me tell you, you had better not only come to every class, but you'd better spend all your time, not just reading or listening to tapes, but you spend all your time doing what I illustrated to you at the start of this talk, which is to pick up a glass very slowly and very consciously, knowing that you're picking it up. You see, when you're seeing something, you're not thinking something. When you're being aware, you're not in thought. So, well, what do you know? Sex. The sex act itself. You have problems with that, don't you, in many ways. Even physically, you may have problems with it. Or thinking about it, it bothers you, don't you? How on earth do you think you're going to solve that by thinking more? All your life you've thought about it and got confused about it. How unintelligent to say, if I think more of the same thoughts, I'll solve the problem. If you've got junk all over your house and you say, I'm going to double the junk, you've got double the junk, and your house is no more clear than it was before. So if this is a spiritual problem, which it is, because you have no spirituality about you at all, forget the man, forget the woman, forget sex, forget romance, forget kisses, forget champagne and flowers on the table and nice dinners. Ladies, don't. Look, it's not wrong, really, to make a nice dinner for the man and put a flower on the table. That's not wrong in itself. What's wrong is that you have hope that he'll like the dinner, that he'll like the flowers, and he'll be nice to you when he comes over. And you saw him, ladies, didn't you, a couple of weeks ago when you were down someplace? You saw a little flash of angry behavior in him, and already you're beginning to wonder, but you live in dreams. How many times have you lived in dreams, ladies, and awakened with a broken heart? Huh? And by the way, there's no difference in the intensity of the pain in a poor relationship or a broken relationship. Men get hit awful hard, and the ladies equally, they cry a lot. There's nothing you can do traditionally then to solve the problem. There's something new you can do, which is to cease to try to solve it the way you've been trying to solve it. Now, how are you going to do that? If all you've got is a mind and an intellect that continues to work, you're going to have to find some way to prevent it from continuing to work in the wrong way as it has in the past. How can I tell you? I'll try again. The way, gentlemen, you solve any kind of a problem whatever, and there's no exception. The way you solve any kind of problem with a man, and you ladies, the only way you solve a problem with a man, vice versa, the only way you ever solve it is to stop thinking the way you presently do in terms of pleasing her, pleasing him, hoping to meet the right one, thinking that if you do certain little things with your hair or with your dress, or go to certain singles groups or nightclubs or whatever, hoping deep in your heart, and you lie about it yourself all the time, you say you just want to go out and have a good time, you're really looking for a man or for a woman. All that, now don't miss this because this is the very heart of what we're talking about. All that must absolutely and 100% go. But you can't do that. Not immediately, because you don't have the right wisdom, which is accompanied by the right strength to do it. And the reason you can't do it is because you vow in your own mind, and your mind is lying, you vow in your own mind that there is no alternative to the way you are presently behaving toward a man or toward a woman. You don't have to answer out loud, but I ask you now to answer to yourself to the following question. Now don't lie, as you always do about everything else. Just be honest to yourself, because this will help you. How many thoughts do you think in the average day, the last week, the last year, the last 10 years, how many thoughts do you think in any way at all toward the opposite sex? Are you able to even go into that elementary spiritual technique of knowing what you're thinking about at the time you're thinking of it? You think a lot about girls. You have sex on your mind all the time. You know you do. You have men have sex on your mind all the time. You want to get her. Can you see, please, can you see the sadness in your search? Ladies, the same way. Can you see the sadness in your yearning for a decent man? Now look. In the spiritual life, there very definitely is such a thing as putting first things first. Now you think this doesn't apply to such a down-to-earth thing as sex. I'm telling you, it has every application to it. Sex involves two human beings, and if they're two wrong human beings, how terrible. If they're two right human beings, if they've grown up, that's different, isn't it? Get rid of every thought, every feeling, every daydream that you have about men and women. How's that for a challenge? So that you no longer know how to behave toward her. You don't know what to do toward him, how to get a man or how to keep a man, or even how to get rid of a man. You ladies get rid of a man, and look, you ran into the same kind of a bum the next day, didn't you? And you thought he was different. He was just 2 inches taller or whatever. Wandering in the wilderness of not knowing anything at all about yourself and your life is a beautiful necessity. We talked earlier about you being so loaded with yourself. All you've got is yourself. That's why everything you touch turns horrible, turns into a problem, turns into a regret. Now again, if you men drop your schemes, you see that girl and she looks, maybe she's receptive. If you drop your schemes, you are going to feel a sharp stab of pain. I've got to do something because I want her. Ladies, the same. I've got to do something because I want him. I've got to do something. I tell you, you're going to crash into each other. You're going to hurt each other. How can it be any different when two desperate people meet? Desperation is a demand, right? Desperation is a demand. Hold me. Make me feel secure. Give me sex. Give me companionship. Give me something. Give me something. And you won't slow down and stop to ask who the me is. You want to repeat it the rest of your life? You just ignore what I've been telling you today. You just ignore it, and I will guarantee you a perfect prophecy that you'll go round and round again for the rest of your life. You've chosen it. You've asked for it. Now, let's suppose that you want to be different. Let's suppose that you're willing to be spiritual. That you're willing to put the kingdom first. Truth first. God first. What is actual, the actual and the factual. The very fact of you choosing that is already the beginning of strength to go all the way with it. Why do you think we emphasize no so much in this class? First it's an intellectual no, then it's a verbal no, and then an emotional no. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, if you want your sex life, your love life straightened out once and forever, learn to say the spiritual no. And the spiritual no doesn't ever have to be said. The others do, because they're elementary stages. You know why you don't have to say no to what is wrong, including your own wrong thoughts about men and women? You don't have to say no because your whole nature says no. Do you know what says? Do you know that God is a complete, magnificent no? Absolutely no. No to everything that is not like God. Just as the sickie who idolizes himself has no other God but himself. You see the difference though, can't you? God is true, and the sickie who idolizes himself is false.
Can you imagine a truly free spiritual mind having any difficulties of any kind, including connected with sex and boys and girls? Could you imagine truth ever being ill at ease? Now you're ill at ease with each other, you're uncomfortable, you're nervous, you blurt something, you don't know what to say. And you cowardly, weak little men, see, I know you, oh, I know you. You're hoping that the woman would take the lead in flirting towards you, don't you? Miserable little wretches that you are. So she flirts toward you a little bit, and you say, I've got it. I've got her. You know what a real man can do with a girl who flirts toward him? He just walks away. He just keeps walking. He'll even scream at her. Oh, he'll scream at her. And that's the test for her. Remember, I'm talking about a spiritual man now. He'll scream at her. He'll bawl her out just to see what she does. And if that woman is beginning to be spiritual, she'll behave in a different way toward your yelling at her than a woman who wants nothing to do with it, which is the vast majority of women. See, you can live with yourself, with your present network of plans and schemes, which always involve fear of failure, right? When you want something from your intellect that always involves fear of failure, which in adding brings on all sorts of lies and self-deceptions toward yourself and toward the other woman, toward the woman or the man. So if you want to have a completely, I tell you, not 98%, not 99%, but 100% peaceful, right relationship, not just with a man or a woman, but the whole world, see? Look. There's such a thing as men. There's such a thing as women. There's such a thing as finances. There's such a thing as government. There's such a thing as parents, as children, as transportation. There's 10,000 subjects in this world, right? Now, if we're going to have to get a new method for handling each one of them, it's going to take an awful long time, isn't it? You get one, then you get another. One solution. See how it's all tied together? I'm talking to you just now about being in right relationship with a man or with a woman. That means one thing. That means being in a right relationship with yourself. And if you're in right relationship with yourself, listen. You'll never have a financial problem for the rest of your life. I didn't say you're going to have $1 million. I said you'll never have a financial problem. Your mind doesn't think madly and crazily toward finances. What do you care how much money you have? What do you care? You don't care. You want a little food and a little roof over your head. All problems are solved. You think you can isolate sex? You think you can isolate romance? Boy and girl dating, marriage? You think you can isolate that? It's all a part of the whole human structure, isn't it? What a miracle! Aren't you speechless at what we've found here? Look at all the years we wandered around looking for an answer here, an answer there, an answer to this, an answer to that. When do all those other people tried those other things, tried a dozen men, a dozen women? You know what you've done in the past, and I do too. I know every one of you as far as your past, your system, that is, not the actual events. I know all of you, your psychology and sex toward men and toward women. You want to continue with the torment? Now we have to come to a conclusion in a little bit, which will go as follows. Just now, you have problems, ladies. You have problems, gentlemen, because you're not real. You're not real at all. You're fake. Your intellect and your emotions have built up an artificial person, an imposter. And this imposter is quite sure in its own delusion that it knows the answer. And the answer to the imposter always lies in the future. Now, if it lies in the future, you don't have to do anything now. See how tricky you are? Why don't you do something right now while I'm talking to you? That's called doing right now. Doing something right now. It's called being receptive, being honest, saying, I'll find out. The man says certain things, I'll find out for myself. Because he's described the situation perfectly. You have the conquest of that woman, gentlemen. You have the conquest of that woman. Now you're in pain for the next woman. You are in love with hell. And you don't understand what I'm talking about. Desperation itself is pain and hell. It's absolutely true that if you want a little gratification of that man or that woman in compromising and lying, it's absolutely true that you can have him. You can have her. You can meet. It's not too hard to meet men and women. I thought you came to this class for something higher than quick thrills. Who said there's anything wrong with a boy-girl relationship? You have never, ever heard me say there's anything wrong with that. You have never heard me say there's anything wrong with sex. You've never heard me say there's nothing wrong with a boy and a girl being nice to each other. That's nature, yeah. But you have distorted it. Because you are sick. And sickness distorts a natural thing. If you fight in any way, if your old nature fights in any way what you've been told today, then you will have to be punished by it. And you will have to be punished by the pain. And the foolishness of that is that you take that pain as being right and necessary and good and something that should be permanent for you. I'll have to give you the facts now. Every once in a while, a certain man, a certain woman will endure, go on to the very end of things, until he understands thoroughly the very, very high and profound principles that you've heard today. If you choose, you can be that man or that woman. If you will let yourself go through the utter terror which you will have to go through of never again knowing an answer about anything, about God, about men, about women, about finances, about government, about anything. You never have known and you never will know from your own mind and your own habitual reactions and actions to life. Conclusion. Because there is something different, you can be different if you enter that something. And you enter that something by one way, by walking away. With all fear and trembling. We've illustrated that many times. Walking out of the jungle that you loved so much. Oh, my heart aches for those men. Every time I meet them, it's the same thing happens. You're in love with your drama. You're in love with your agony. And you want to tell a lot of people about it. Or tell yourself about it. You are both the actress and the observer of the act. And you applaud yourself. That is called total stupidity and self-destruction. Receive and let the action come from a higher source, something that comes into you that begins to direct your life. You don't know how to direct your life, and you don't have to know. You don't have to know. What you can do is yield, and I'll use that word, the new word, not a new word, use the word obey. Just obey in spite of your own nature. Defy your own nature. No, I am not going through this again. It is not real life. It is torment. And it's about time I had the honesty to see it. With that, the pain begins to fall away. And never, listen to this, both ladies and gentlemen, never, never, never again will you ever look at a man or look at a woman with any kind of a negative feeling whatever. Not a yearning, I hope I can get her. Maybe if I walk a certain way, she'll be walking a certain way, and we'll accidentally meet, and we'll have a little... Please stop it. and let something else work for you. It exists. Would you like to ask questions of any kind on any subject? The gentleman suggested questions. Yes, please.
I've noticed that in the last 6 months or so, that what Guy used to call his interpersonal relations and reactions is all changing. I don't feel like Guy towards people anymore. It's just a comment. Question too, Vernon.
All right, now let me tell you what that is. 1% reality and 99% delusion. The 1% reality is valuable. How valuable you'll never know. Yes, you will. Someday you'll know. The first clue that you're beginning to be different, act different, is sort of a conscious confusion, if you can imagine that. Something is happening, but you don't know what it is. You understand that, don't you? You've been absorbing all this wisdom, these higher principles, and they are beginning to work on you. And since this has never, ever happened to you before, how can you do anything but say, hey, that's different? How strange. And you'll see, really, you men, now take the men for now. You men, you remember with your intellect everything you have ever thought about a woman, yearned for in a woman, including the painful experiences. How you see all those marvelous women out in the world, and you see them for 3 seconds and they're gone forever in your life. For the first time, you will know that you saw that pain. You saw it. You go down to the party somewhere, and you get there late, and she's just leaving, and she's all alone. And you say, oh, I just got here 20 minutes earlier. I could have started operating. I'm glad for her you were late. She avoided you at least, but she's so confused, she's going to get mixed up with the next man who arrives early, the next party, isn't she? I'm talking about you ladies, am I not? But we're talking about a newness of self, therefore a newness of attitudes. I swear to heaven, you'll say to yourself sometime, I am never again going to look at that man and that woman, that desirable man, he's handsome, that beautiful woman. I vow I'm never again going to torment myself like that. Every day you're 30, 40, 50 years old, older. And it's happened all the time, and for the first time after the 50,000th self-torment because you were asleep, you finally see it. Well, I'll tell you, you listen to me. There is such a thing as a spiritual vow. And I've given to you in the form of a screaming no. Wow. Well, I'll guarantee you, when you do that, when you see that pain, that you're not going to have that woman, and you see it, with the help of God Almighty, I will never destroy myself again by feeling the agony that I'm not going to go to bed with her. Never again. God help me. He will. And the next time you see her, gentlemen, the pain will be just that much less, then that much, that much, that much. And finally, when you're completely free of her, of him, you'll know what it means to thank God for the existence of God. See, now, just now, your pain is your pleasure. Now you think about that long and hard. Your pain is your pleasure. It's your way of life. And if I gave this kind of a talk out into the world before a bunch of people, 5,000 people who weren't interested in these things, no wonder they get up and walk out. What do you expect them to do? To stay there when they already have the answers? What do you mean I have pain? I've been married 40 years, poor man. The observation of self-agony is a first absolutely necessary step to being free of it. And since those 5,000 people that I talked about, half of them who walk out physically and the other half mentally, since they don't want to see their pain because they love it. It's so marvelous. The women do that. You women do the same thing. You understand that with the man. If I just married someone else, it wouldn't have been any difference because you would have married someone else. The observation of pain. And why don't you try sometime a right kind of a prayer? I'll give you an example of a right kind of prayer. God, please, please help me to see what a hypocrite I am. That will be answered. God always answers a prayer like that. Help me to see what I can't now see. Absolute answer, and it will be instantaneous. The very asking of it is the answer, the start of the answer. And then you'll come through all these other stages that were talked about, where you see self-ignorance masquerading as self-knowledge was the devil. When you get free of the devil, you get free of his pitchforks of pain. What do you think causes the pain? The devil, which is ignorance, which is stupidity. What else do you think of the devil is? And the light chases all that out. Is there another question or something? The lady.
Mr. Howard, I sense that the world isn't causing my pain, but I don't understand what it means by I'm causing my pain.
You're causing your pain by being what you are. Now find out what you are. Shall I tell you what you are? You're a woman who just has a mind. That's all you have. Is psychologically speaking, all you have is a mind which you don't understand. You don't know how it operates. Look how simple it is. Let's start all over at the very ABC. The reason you have problems over men, women, sex, whatever, is because your mind operates wrong. Now see, I've answered your question. Bonnie.
Energy. I've noticed today that I've lost a lot of energy, and I caught it a couple of times when I was exhausted.
All right, I'll tell you what to do for the rest of the day, all of you. When you're watching other people, when you're going to the food table, not only do that, but simply know that you're doing it. Now, don't say you already do it. You don't. You get lost. Now, I've told you, there are times when you must be in thought. You're making a choice as to what dessert you want, and you go into right practical thought on that. You might choose ice cream instead of the pie or whatever. That's okay. But the minute that choice is done, so you can let go of your mind, let go of it, and know that you've picked up the pie plate, taken the pie, and you've walked in the room, and you walk into the room, and there's a lot of other people watching you, and you people are terrible. You have such bad manners. I never saw more bad-mannered people than you. You're utterly bad-mannered. And you walk in here and you know that 4 or 5 other people who want to see what you took. And you can sense out of your corner of your eye and ear, you sense that they're staring down at that piece of pie that you're carrying into the room, right? You've had that. You had it today, didn't you? And you all did it to me and to other people. You always do it. You never wake up. And if I looked up and looked at you, you would have looked down guilty. It'd be the same old story. I don't even bother with you anymore. Not only that, but you come in and they look at your piece of pie. You know, for one thing, it relieves them a choice. Hey, I'll have that too. I've watched you. I've watched sometimes someone bring me something, and you watch me, and you run out there. I tell you, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. Do you think I'm going to tell you these things? What's the point of it? I take a piece of pie, and the next minute, all the pie's gone. All right. Let's go deeper than that. Now we're getting somewhere. You come in with a piece of pie, and you're aware of all the people looking at you, and you know if you looked up, they'd look around quick because you didn't want to get caught at. But what about you feeling resentment over them looking at your piece of pie? Now we're getting close to how the mind operates mechanically and how it goes into negative reactions. Never look at another human being and ask, why do you behave like that? Why do you stare at my pie? Well, never ask them. It won't do any good. That's wasted energy. The right energy, Bonnie, would be for you to know. Be aware of the whole situation, your choice in memory. Then you come in and you're wide awake. They don't know you are. You don't know that I'm wide awake when all these entertainments are going on. Now, you don't know how I know you're watching my face to see whether you should smile or not, or how long I applauded. I even count them sometimes. Again, I'll get it over with. So, and you quit after that sometimes. You see the pain of resentment. That is the right use of energy. Once you see it, then you can take the further steps of separating from it and walk on over and consciously enjoy nature's pie. Otherwise, you'll be eating in your sleep like you do everything else in your sleep. Have you ever taken food consciously? Try it sometime. You'll know what it tastes like, for one thing. Now you don't know. You're eating and you're looking. You're thinking. And the music is impinging upon your mind.